what would be like the worst thing for your
I
character in
mean, look,
chosen family?
The Conjuring, I always go back to The Conjuring because, like,
Yeah.
what I loved about my character in The Conjuring is I was the straight guy in The Conjuring. I was the skeptic. So you could take anybody and put him in that situation because generally they're going to be the skeptic. And and it took the entirety of the movie to sort of to change good old Brad Hamilton from The Conjuring.
Nerd reactor, roll out.
John, how's it going?
How you doing, man? It's going great.
Yeah, you're a busy man. You're like in the middle of shooting while doing an interview, and it's probably a crazy day for you.
Those are all
And
easy
yeah,
problems for actors. I'd rather be busy than,
yeah,
especially
that's
after
true.
the previous 3 years where our industry really kind of slowed down for a minute between COVID and the strikes. It's good to be busy.
For sure, for sure. And then for chosen family, let's get right to it. Heather
Good.
Graham, lead writer, director, and you're in a love interest. So like, where does it come together? Like, was it like you guys were good friends before, or is like let's get John here, let's have him audition?
This is kind of a funny story because you never know who's looking at what. When I met Heather for the first time, I auditioned for it, and honestly, we're doing this thing in LA now after COVID. You send everything in on tape, right? So it was one of those auditions I did. I'm like, to play Heather Graham's love interest, yeah, right. Like, it's one in a million. Throw this thing on tape. Hope she likes it. Never going to hear from her again, kind of thing, right? That's just usually, we're trained as actors to like do it and throw it away and not like think about it. So then some time went past, I think a couple weeks or whatever, and I get the call that I'm getting an offer on the Heather Graham movie. I'm like, wait, what? And I was obviously so pleasantly surprised and couldn't wait to get to work. Fast forward to meeting Heather for the first time. I had just done an Instagram post where I was kind of messing around. A buddy had sent me some he has a clothing line. He'd sent me some cool clothes, and I was trying to think of a creative way to put it on blast and then also have some fun with it. That was a little different from me. And so literally I filmed this thing where I'm like doing some funky, like old school dance moves from like my era, like the sea walk, right? To like Dr. Dre, like totally silly, totally silly. The first thing Heather says to me when she meets me is she's like, you know what? After I saw your tape, I went right to your Instagram, and it was the thing I had just posted. And she's like, I saw that post of you dancing in your living room or something. And I was like, oh my gosh. She goes, I just knew in that moment, I was like, this guy likes to have fun. And I really liked your tape. And I thought, yeah, this is the one. And I'm like, get out of here. It just showed me that like you never know who's looking at what, because that was the last thing I ever thought would catch someone's eye. That was me being goofy for my buddy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So there you go. Yeah, being goofy and then catches eye. And now you're like the heartthrob in the movie, the charismatic, the guy that pretty much Heather's character. All her friends are like, "Ooh, look at this guy."
yes. It's who my friends back home are jealous of. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And because you played all types of characters, and
Yeah.
for this one, you're the actor, but you're also like, yeah, it's like, how do you feel inside? Like, yeah, I'm the love interest, and look at me, I'm like, the camera shows up to my face, and I'm like just dashing.
Well, I certainly don't go. I appreciate the kind words. Um, you know, there's a funny sense of insecurity that we all have, especially when you're going into a project and you're going, "Holy cow, am I worthy?" Right? But Heather was so great at making everyone around her feel so comfortable that immediately any kind of nerve I had was out the window. And we even had to roll around in the hay a little bit. And she was so professional and so sweet and just wanted me to be comfortable and wanted everyone to be, it was just from top to bottom. She just made it sure everyone around her was happy and comfortable. So, the rest of it just sort of takes care of itself. The thing that I always say, people are like, oh, what makes a good director? Because I've worked with a lot of good directors and they're all very different. But the one quality that every great director has is if you feel safe with them. And that can mean a lot of things, but it means you trust them, trust the direction they're going in. Because some directors are really actory directors, want to talk to you about the work. Some are just concerned with the shot. But at the end of the day, like if you feel safe with them, you trust them. And she was just a director. She just makes you feel safe and secure and is just she showers everyone with compliments. It's like who she is. And so, you have a hard time not feeling good around her. She's just a bright person and like just brings brightness to everyone around her. So I just used her as my source of motivation, and hopefully the camera caught some good stuff.
And I think that's like a good set environment to allow you as actors to really open up and be vulnerable. And yeah, and I think the movie does that because I'm surprised with I'm watching the trailer. I'm like, oh, this looks like a very, very lighthearted rom-com. And then like later on, I'm like, oh, it's kind of heavy. I'm like, wow, where did this come from? So I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, what I liked about the rom-com element is that it did have very realistic undertone to it, because it's one of those situations. Sometimes timing isn't right. Like everything else can be perfect except timing. And this was a situation, two people fall in love genuinely, but the timing wasn't right because I had the priorities. I have to take care of my daughter. Even if I'm so in love, I could be the most in love of my entire life, and my daughter still takes priority. And of course, her character understands that, even though it hurts for everybody, but it is what it is. And like, you could even like not like the child as far as the audience. I mean, it's obvious she's supposed to be like, she's almost the nemesis, right? But like at the end of the day, everyone realizes that dad has to take care of that daughter no matter what. Because if I had put her on the back burner for love, you wouldn't have liked it. It'd have been like, that's just weird. So
Yeah.
it was the complexity of it I was really attracted to, because I do a lot of rom-coms, but they always have happy endings. This was kind of not a happy ending, which
Yeah.
was something that was really appealing to me, because it was very real.
Yeah, because you've done a lot of Christmas movies, but
Yes.
you have done the stuff that is in my realm, Nerd Reactor, like Guardians of the
Yes.
Galaxy, Dexter, Conjuring, American Horror Story. So I was
So,
wondering, like, let's say your character, like, what would you see your character would be freaking out the most in what previous project of yours?
oh man, my character in Chosen Family.
Yeah, yeah, like including
Oh,
everything with the family. Like, what would be like the worst thing for your
I
character in
mean, look,
Chosen Family?
The Conjuring. I always go back to the Conjuring because, like,
Yeah,
what I loved about my character in the Conjuring is I was the straight guy in the Conjuring. I was the skeptic. So you could take anybody and put him in that situation because generally they're going to be the skeptic. And and it took the entirety of the movie to sort of to change good old Brad Hamilton from the Conjuring. So to throw any character in the middle of that scenario, I think would be exciting.
oh yeah, and I feel like future wise projects. Is there like a particular? I'm pretty sure you want to do everything as an actor because you have the different ranges, horror to sci-fi to rom-coms. But is there one where like, I really like this genre? I really want to continue in this.
Well, the most fun I've ever had was being on a sitcom, like because the live audience thing is just so fun. So that I would love another crack at being in front of a live audience. Fuller House was such a joy to be a part of, and my kids grew up on that set. So the live audience thing is just immediate interaction with the fans, which is so fun. But beyond that, man, there's the GI Joe 8-year-old in me that grew up like playing in dirt that just wants to go do more like badass Navy SEAL, get in the mud and like all snipered out. Like that's the boy in me. So doing Furious 7 was a taste of that. I'd love to do more of that. I
Yeah,
also like when the two worlds combine, like that thing that like the Ryan Reynolds of the worlds can do. They can be the leading man action, but bring a little comedy. That's kind of what I've always loved. Is I think comedy brings levity to intense moments. Kind of like in The Conjuring, my character brought a little comedy that made you breathe a little bit in between. It made the scary stuff scarier, I think, when you can go on a ride.
yeah.
So, sophisticated action comedy is what I would like to call, where I'd end up being.
Oh yeah, and you touch on like the live audience, but action. I feel like there is a realm for that. Wrestling.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're totally right. That's what it is. That's a live sitcom. It's exactly what it is.
There you go. I'll see you in WWE next year, right?
Yes, for sure. Hey, listen, anything.
Yeah. And John, I just want to say it's a pleasure chatting with you. And yeah, can't wait for like the movie comes out and just seeing more of your work. And always appreciative.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, John.